Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of Trade the Chain. And it's going to be a good one. It is March 15th, a Monday. Happy Monday to everybody. Little blood in the streets, not too much, but enough to piss people off in the markets today. So we're going to try to talk those reds right around the greens. But before we do, I'm going to Ryan. Oh, by the way, before I go to Ryan, just want to let you guys know, I should have done this before, is that one, we're going to be talking about Enjin. We're going to be hitting the charts. Take a look at that thing. We're going to be taking a look at ADA, hit the charts on that thing. And then, of course, I forgot to introduce everybody. If you're new to the channel, best hair in crypto over there is Ryan Gorman. I got CJ and Monty, our crypto analyst from MarketRebellion.com. All right, Ryan, take it away.
Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain is strictly for informational and educational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice and should not be taken as such. Don't listen to us. Ever.
Sometimes.
Trade the Chain is brought to you by TradeTheChain.com, a global 24/7 community of traders of all types, all backgrounds, all skill and knowledge levels, all ages, and all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market. You too can trade like a crypto insider. Visit TradeTheChain.com and check us out. 14-day free trial.
Taking a look here at the hourly sentiments of Trade the Chain. Very bearish. Market hanging in there just a little bit as we find some support with Bitcoin, but we'll get into that a little bit more in depth. But first, marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get access to exclusive trade ideas, our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, a trading education curriculum, and an elite community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. And you can start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. We have a mobile app as well that you can access for Apple users on iOS. But with that being said, shall we get to the big boards? Or
well, hold on, CJ. I got something to say.
Thoughts?
I got something to say. Does Market Rebellion have magical disappearing cups like me?
What's in that cup?
That's too perfect.
All right, sorry. The first thing I want to say is breaking as we come on the air here. It is confirmed tomorrow. Confirmed for tomorrow, there will be a live stream here on this channel, 2 p.m. With Steve Ehrlich, as we're going to go through a Voyager-Vgx token update. That'll be live streamed 2:00 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow on this channel. Now, CJ, I hand it back to you. Anything you got to say?
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to having Steve on. That will be great to get an update on the token swap, because price has just been bleeding out quite a bit on VGX. And, I love Voyager, obviously, but I have to be a little critical about them, specifically with the new March interest rates. You know, like, how do you raise something like Litecoin to 6.5%, but you don't do anything to your native token? You leave it at a measly 3%, the token that you put your name on. And that causes a slow bleed, that causes a lack of demand, especially when you decrease the amount for holding VGX tokens from, I think it was 1,000 to 500. So that just doesn't do much to help demand. But moreover, the story is much beyond Voyager and what they can do and have control over in the North American market, because the Asian market and the international market is what's really telling the story here. Because if you think about it, those individuals, I mean, I've made this point and stressed it a lot, like on last time's stream, but if we look at the Voyager to Bitcoin relative performance, Asia has been absolutely destroying this thing ever since the top. And when you look at this, you have to understand the people who are trading this, you know, they're not holding it at Voyager because they can't use Voyager because they're not in the US. They're just trading it on Binance. They're trading it as an asset with a price that's highly volatile. And they rode this thing all the way up. We got to the sequential 9, and then they shorted it with 3x leverage on Binance, which is what we saw immensely. We actually saw in some of Binance's futures, I think over 21% of traders were using over 100x leverage, which is pretty astounding. But the one thing I do have to say here is that when you get a green engulfing candle at the bottom of a downtrend, followed by a doji, so that's pretty nice as well, that's kind of a sign that we may be reaching a potential bottom, or at least an interim bottom. You know, the fact that there's a lot of buyers from Asia stepping in here to buy off of that previous support level is a good sign in the short term. But we're still going to need a lot of volume from the international market. And even if Voyager comes out with the token swap, like it's their VGX is dictated by the international and the market on Binance, because 65 to 70% of the global volume on VGX is coming from Binance in that international market. So it is a double-edged sword, both up on the way up and on the way down.
I do want to note, I want to take a positive out of your comments, and that is the amount of percentage of international buyers, right? So you know, constantly seeing on social media and all this stuff, people from Australia, people from the UK, people from Canada, and so forth and so on. Hey, when is it going to be available? Da da da, blah blah blah, and all this stuff, because they're anxious to use it. So one of the positives I take from that is that when they finally do go through their regulatory hurdles and approvals that they are currently doing, and that market opens up to active users, forget about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And sorry, one last bit I want to add here, Ryan.
Oh, sure.
We're long-term bullish on Voyager. Like Alex, you're absolutely right. Everything that Pat Ackerman has shown us when it comes to Metcalfe's law, very, very bullish for Voyager long-term. It's just in the short term, when you have an asset that goes up 5,000% in like, you know, 2-3 months, it's nice that we're seeing a bounce from support at the 15-period moving average here. But if we look at assets that have made similar moves like this, I keep referencing the Chainlink chart. And, you know, after an asset goes up and peaks like that, regardless of fundamental value, we see oftentimes with a 50 or even 60% correction in the worst case scenario. So a correction like this, and then an accumulation phase and a widening mouth pattern before a future further parabolic run-up in VGX by the end of the bull market seems kind of likely. And a 60% correction would take us down to $3 from the peak. So that's pretty scary, judging by
I'd really
$3.
Yeah, I'd really prefer that didn't happen. You know, but like it feels like every time we take a step forward with VGX, they find a way to, as you put it before, they kneecap demand. Let's lower the interest rate requirements down to only 500 coins, and let's make it only half of Bitcoin. I don't know of another exchange that just it seems like it 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back every time with their native coin. I don't get it. I don't understand the motivation behind it. I mean, you have an active community, you have supporters, you have people who are enthusiastic about the coin, and then you demotivate them on an almost consistent basis. What's the logic behind that?
I don't necessarily think they're intentionally, kneecapping demand. If you look at the strides Voyager's taken in the last 3 months alone, I think they're doing all the right things. And you can be critical of them for not raising their interest rate from 3% when they boosted other assets to 6.5%. But I think that's just the fact that maybe there isn't as much demand in the lending market for VGX. So 3% may be the most competitive rate they can offer right now. Or maybe they're setting up to offer different rates down the line. But I think I still believe in Voyager. I'm more bullish based on what CJ just showed me. I think those technicals actually look pretty good in with its Bitcoin pair. But I just think that Voyager although they're not doing anything necessarily right now that's pushing token's value up, I still think they're taking the right steps in getting people off that wait list. That happened this last week. We saw a bunch of assets spike in price, I think, as a result of people getting off this wait list and starting to speculate on some of these more retail-based assets. And I think a lot of this kind of bleeding out in VGX just has to do with the extreme parabolic nature of the initial run up. Like, it ran up to $7 so fast. Like, people took profits on that, a lot of profits. People that have been holding VGX at around 20 cents for over a year. I know, like, CJ and I personally, we've been holding VGX in the 20-cent range for a year. So, like, when I took profits at $7, I don't feel any urgency to buy back in right away. I held VGX at 20 cents for over a year. So, like,
nor should you feel guilt. And
Yeah.
I tweeted this the other night when everybody kept screaming about bleeding out. I said, listen, let the people who've been in this since 30 cents and before take their profits. They have the right to take their profits, right? Anybody does. You make that amount of run up, and such as you, Monty, or CJ, and it's like, let them get it. Let the price consolidate after those guys do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what we're seeing, is just a bit of a consolidation, and it's more extreme of kind of what feels like a bleeding out because of the fact that the run up was so extreme. So I think this is just the natural process of going from 20 cents to $7 in a month. I mean, we're still at $5. It's not like it's anywhere near where it was 3 months ago. So I'm still bullish on VGX. I think they're still working to do the right things. I think the token swap is going to be big. I think the changes to a loyalty program will really provide some incentives. And who knows what else Steve has in the works. I'm really excited to hear him speak tomorrow. I think we'll have a much clearer picture about kind of the utility of VGX going forward. But I'm still bullish long term for sure.
Okay, hear you, Ryan.
How about now?
Yep.
Okay, not sure what happened there, but I'm still bullish, and of course, and I'm still happy with the profits I was able to take at the high too. I cashed in nicely, like some other people that have been holding for a while, but I don't know. I got back in, and I've watched it kind of just dwindle down. And I thought I was buying at the bottom last time, and that clearly worked out well. And I'm just concerned about, because we've talked previously about how if it goes down to say 5 and then it goes below like 450 and then to 4, where's the support to keep it from going down even further? And I think I'm more worried about the downside in the short term than the long-term performance. And I mean, I have no doubt that with what they have going on and what they're doing in the US and Europe and with the token swap, that it will grow long-term, but I also fear that perhaps a lot of this stuff, since it's already public knowledge, is possibly priced into the token, and it's going to need some further catalyst to start making that move higher to the $30, $50 price points that some people have talked about.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's one of those things where it's that greed incentive that comes in, right? So, like, of course, when like you, Ryan, when I'm getting down to the bouncing around the $5 range, seeing it dip in the $4 range, I'm starting to get iffy and all this stuff. But what right do I have, right? It's nothing but a greed factor. I've owned this thing since it was sub 50 cents. There's no right I have at $4 not to be happy, just as well, right? So listen, I think the consolidation is healthy. I think you're getting early profiters coming out, and that's cool. It creates a healthier and more stable chart moving forward. I also think, listen, yeah, to CJ's point, the news cycle, it's not Voyager's sole responsibility to keep that price up, but they have lacked on kind of their news cycle layout of sorts, or maybe the expectations of such. The VLP program was great. What's the next hurdle? The next hurdle is the token swap. That's a big one. We're going to discuss that tomorrow on the live stream. What's after that? Enacting the new loyalty program. So those rewards start kicking in, the higher ones. People are earning 3% on VGX. They want to earn 7%. What happens after that? The good thing about Voyager, and why I'm bullish to $30 and $50 for Voyager in the long term, is because they do have the news and the enhancements to keep carrying it forward. It's not like a one and done here. They still have Canada open up, New York to open up, EU to open up. Those three things are actually, they're waiting for responses on. There's nothing left in their court to deal with those. So those are coming. I think that's all huge stuff.
We've known
Absolutely.
about that though. Like we've known those things. We've known
Yeah.
about the desktop. We've known about the debit card. We've known about the expansion.
Yep.
When even if we have a slight unfulfillment from expectations, the token is not going to perform well.
Well, but wouldn't you say, CJ, that, I mean, or I think Pat would say that it's not so much about the news. I mean, the news is important, but wouldn't the onboarding of new users with the opening up of a European, opening up to Europeans and to Canadians and to people in New York, don't you think that is kind of more important in terms of kind of the token efficiency thing that Pat always talks about, and the network effect is kind of this next stage of onboarding all these new customers and markets that are somewhat untapped by Voyager?
I think
Absolutely.
you hear about.
Wait.
I think you hear about this stuff, CJ. But then and that's one blip. But when it becomes reality and they cross that threshold, I think it's a whole nother blip when it becomes, tangible.
I don't mean to pour cold water on this, but if they're paying only 3% on their coin, I don't see why anyone would buy it when you can get more percentage on other coins on their own platform, or you can just go elsewhere and get so much more. People aren't staking crypto or holding crypto to get only 3%.
But that's why the swap that's why the swap has to happen. That's why the new program has to kick in. And again, breaking on the air as we discuss all of this, folks. Wednesday, we're going to get Pat Ackerman. We'll be on the show. We're going to go over this, his latest article, The Relativity of VGX in Crypto. This is going to happen Wednesday. All right. I mean, I don't know how this became Voyager Week. We didn't plan for it. But this is how it's going to be. It seems all too important. First of all, Ryan's losing money. We got to fix it. So tomorrow live stream.
You can't hit a home run every time.
Tomorrow live stream with Steve Ehrlich, talk about the token swap update. Wednesday, Pat Ackerman to go over his latest article to an affirmation of sorts on. CJ's laughing at me.
In other words, Alex is doing everything he possibly can to shield VGX this week.
My God, man!
I mean, come on, you have to lose money on some trades. If not, people are gonna look at you like you're Bernie Madoff.
Not if I can help it, Ryan.
No, you can't win them all. You can't hit a home run every time. Some are just stinkers. Somehow Doge worked out for me, but VGX didn't this time. Go figure.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this. Now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Let's hit the big board, CJ. Thanks for your patience, man.
No, that was good. So we've got Bitcoin selling off a little bit after hitting both the sequential 9 on the 1 day and the 4 hour time frames, with a little bit of declining volume here. Let's take a look at the 4 hour, because we are coming close to some of these support levels when it comes to the macro trend. So this support level right here at 54.4 is what I'm going to really be looking for in the short term for a tentative bounce. Let's go to the 1 hour on a shorter term, because we did hit a 9. We bounced after reaching that 9. But ever since have not been able to follow through with that bullish price action. So we have yet to truly find support in this trend. And if I go back to the 1 day and draw a support level here, about 54, this may be the extent of the drop following the 9. We have yet to see. But I am looking for the trend to put in a higher low above 50K somewhere. After we hit 9s and we correct, typically we'll undergo something called a 1 to 4 candle correction of the opposite color. So for the next 3 days, perhaps we may see some bearish to neutral price action. It still kind of depends on how the trend shakes out. But that's typically characteristic of what we would get after hitting that red sequential 9 on the daily. So I'm a little bit of just kind of bearish neutral for this week, but I'm looking to, it looks like the trend is still going to put in a higher low above 50K. The one thing I thought that was notable that one of our members pointed out earlier today was that we're actually seeing a lot of inflows from cold storage to hot wallets on exchanges, which is pretty symbolic of the smart money and whales that got in earlier at like, 5, 10K. A lot of those individuals will probably take profit or are looking to take profit because they've moved all of those coins into the hot wallets.
Yeah, interesting stuff, CJ. I just want to go back to the 4-hour chart because, like you pointed out, I think that's one of the more telling charts on a technical, from a technical perspective right now. And yeah, I just want to reiterate the importance of this level that you highlighted here, this TD setup support from this previous green 9. But I'm actually a little bit more bullish neutral. I think what you just mentioned, that movement of crypto assets from cold storage to hot wallets, is alarming. That is something that is typically indicative of a sell-off, but I think that may have already been factored in here. We saw just a kind of manic weekend. I think it set us up for a new trading range here. I like when we top on a green 9, and then we also have support from a green 9. Gives you kind of a good window, a good idea of where we may be trading in for, at least in the interim. And I think we are going to get a bounce here. I think the psychological level of 55K, for one, is where we're bouncing right now. But I think that, in conjunction with the fact that we have strong support just below 55K, makes this a good price floor, and actually a good place to maybe think about re-entering a Bitcoin trade. I've seen a lot of people in chat in our community talking about possibly buying this dip. And I think the closer we get to this line right here, the more tempting it becomes for me to buy this dip. I think the technicals look pretty strong. There is a lot of FUD in this space right now between what CJ just mentioned and bans on cryptocurrency being floated throughout the world, in India and Thailand and whatnot. But I think the technicals are strong. There's good sentiment in pretty much every aspect. There's Bitcoin's all over the news right now. And plus, there's going to be an influx of stimulus money. Some people, like Yahoo Finance, are estimating that 10% of the roughly 350 billion in stimulus could go into crypto. So I think this weekend we saw people trying to front run that phenomenon. But I think as the stimulus checks hit, I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see this trend continue as retail traders put their money into Bitcoin and other crypto assets.
I'm curious, where did they get that 10% number? Is that about how much went in during the last round of stimulus, or is that something they did through a survey they took?
That's a good question. I can send you the Yahoo Finance article. I'm not too sure. I think it's based off previous stimulus inflows.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable number. It's just, I guess my curiosity getting the best of me. I'm just wondering.
All right. Well, that being said, want to head on over, want to cover, we were supposed to do this Friday, cover Cardano-Ada. We didn't because we just ran away on a few things, but now I want to hit the charts. There's some folks disappointed, so let's get to this. Where are we looking? Guys, before you start, CJ, I just want to say I really expected Cardano to be a $7 to $10 coin by now, and the reason being is there's a lot of hype, and because of that, a lot of expectation behind it and what the project's about, and it hasn't come through on anything I believe to date.
Yeah, I mean, who is building on Cardano? Do you guys know anyone who's building on Cardano?
No. Supposed to be billed as the Ethereum killer. I mean, Richard comes out and has his own channel and talks about it all the time. I just don't see anything of implementation.
Wow, look at this. This is the Kraken chart, by the way, but look at that wick all the way down to 16 cents. Like, I don't know why Kraken is like this, but they have so many wicks that just liquidate people like this. Yeah, that's,
it's weird. There was a story about this happening. Like, this has been happening for years. Like a story about this happening 2 years ago, where a hedge fund trader just tried to testing Kraken's liquidity, tried to sell off some ETH that any exchange with the order book thickness that Kraken claims to have should have been able to do it no problem. And he just got wrecked trying to do it. Like, it wicked so far down that it was almost pointless to sell it. It's strange. This is the only exchange you hear about this happening.
Yeah, it's because, and when Jesse Powell like responded to it, I really didn't like his response. He didn't really care. He just said, look, the reason why the price was that way on Kraken is because buyers met with sellers and agreed on that price. It's not my fault if other exchanges don't agree on that price. You know, traders trade differently on Kraken. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with a wick like this if I'm going to be trading leverage, because I'm going to be killed. But going to the technicals on ADA, you know, decent consolidation here after our recent peak. You know, we're going to look for support to hit on this level at approximately $1 or about 95 cents. Moreover, if that support doesn't hold, I'd be pretty concerned, because throughout this run up, there's really been no support formed between 90 cents to 45 cents. So that's quite a gap right there with virtually no support or resistance. When looking at the shorter term timeframes, we can see we're on a red 9 on sequential on the 4 hour. Very similar to the red 9 that we saw here previously. We did get a little bounce and bullish consolidation before getting rejected. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar occur here after hitting that TD buy 9 on the 4 hour. Maybe a nice test upward into this resistance before a further rejection, but we'll see. That's a very interesting indication that we're hitting the TD buy 9 on the 4 hour, though. Looks like we may be in for an interim reaction rally in the midst of a larger sell-off.
Yeah, interesting stuff, CJ. Do you think we're going to go below $1? I mean, I thought that would hold strong, but we really approached it much quicker than I kind of expected us to.
I mean, it's all relative on how Bitcoin goes. If this is like a buy the dip situation right now in Bitcoin, and we continue to go up and make new highs, then the altcoins will likely follow suit, Cardano included. But we still have to see Bitcoin find support, and it hasn't truly had a strong bounce off of this support level yet.
All right. Next thing I want to touch on is Enjin. Now, Enjin-Enj is the ticker, and Ryan is salivating on FOMOing into this if he hasn't already while we've been screen sharing.
I sold off my Doge to get into Enjin.
Thank God, man.
A leap of faith, if ever there was one.
Oh, there's no leap of faith there. But you know, Enjin has been just going up and up and up, and I think a lot has to go. We were talking about it earlier before we started this. The whole NFT sector is hot right now. You can basically NFT your used smelly sneaker for about 70 million bucks. If you have one laying around, but it seems to be, you know, carrying off this momentum. What do you guys think, CJ, Monty, on the technicals?
Yeah, the technicals, I mean, we're topping here on a green 9 on the 4 hour. We broke $3. I mean, an absolutely insane milestone if we were talking about this just a month ago. But I think Enjin, like you said, Alex, it's an NFT, and the NFT space has just been all over the news lately. It's been on CNN, all over traditional financial channels and stuff. And I think Enjin is one that can actually perform very well beyond all the hype. Enjin is one that I've been watching for a long time. Also, if you look at the sentiment here, I think I have it as one of my favorites. Yeah. I mean, the long-term sentiment is 108.
Wow, 108. That's over 100 on the mark. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, very big deal. And
Yeah.
even the daily sentiment, I mean, I look at this chart. We're at a very toppy formation, and the daily sentiment is still strong. And I actually agree with that. Ordinarily, when I see a chart like this, I think a reversal is imminent. But Enjin has great utility, and I think so. For those of you that don't know, Enjin is kind of it's an underlying asset that powers in-game video game items that can be used as NFTs. And I think this is such a untapped market because I mean, think about games like Fortnite. Fortnite's a game that's free to play, but from 2017 to 2020, they sold over $5 billion in cosmetic skins. That's a massive market. And it worked. Enjin is great because it helps both the creator of these skins and the consumer, because it removes intermediaries, first of all, but also it allows for complete, like, true item ownership. When you purchase a skin in Fortnite, Enjin's hosted on the Ethereum blockchain, so the transactions are immutable, and you actually get access to like true ownership of these items. They can be melted back into Enjin, so they hold their value very well compared to other in-game video items. And it's just, I always talk about how retail traders tend to flock to more exotic assets, and I think Enjin not only is one that is still in its infancy in the sense that people are just beginning to realize its potential applications, but it's kind of exotic in the sense that people understand that the NFT space has potential, and there's also this economy within video games that hasn't really been capitalized yet. So I think Enjin is an asset that is well positioned to really take advantage of this. And I mean, we've seen this price action with really, Microsoft Azure Heroes is one instance of kind of a utility so far. And there's another game, Age of Rust. But other than that, there are really not too many popular games utilizing this so far. And I think once more game developers and creators realize the potential of this, it's going to just continue to go parabolic. So this is one that I think the utility is strong. The technicals, although they look toppy, sentiment is very strong. So I'm going to keep riding this one. Haven't even taken any profit on it and haven't really even considered it, because I do believe that this has the potential to really even outperform Bitcoin in its next market cycle. So going to be holding this one for a while.
Thank you for that, Monty.
I think another thing to that point, Monty, is that there's just so much pent up demand for NFTs. Everybody looks on the news, they're like, what is this? I want exposure to it. But a lot of people, including myself, are not like sophisticated enough to successfully flip NFTs, like buying the actual art. So things like Enjin, things like Mana are a really cool way to actually get exposure to the NFT space. I have breaking news. Voyager raised the interest rate on VGX to 5%. Oh.
This is crazy. This is how we are moving the markets, folks. That's wild. Nuts. That's awesome.
March Mania.
There you go. Anybody else have any requests? We'll just we'll get them done.
You know, back to NFTs for a second. I mean, I understand how some of them, you know, like Kings of Leon raising $2 million for selling tokenized versions of their album. I get that. That's cool. That's a unique way, an innovative way for bands to diversify their income stream past making a fraction of a penny for 1 billion streams on Spotify, right? But I don't understand like how like sports cards or highlights or Jack's original tweet are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. I don't get it.
Hey man, you got to ask the collectibles master down in the bottom left corner.
Doesn't make sense to me. It's just digitized. I can take a screenshot of Jack's tweet, print it out, frame it, hang it on my wall, right? Like what's so special about the NFT version of the tweet that I'd be the only person in the world that can have it? But like I can just retweet it for free. Like I know I sound old and completely out of touch and I don't get it, man. But I don't. I understand how to make money off of it, but I don't get it. I genuinely don't. And I'd like to learn.
I mean, Ryan, what's so valuable about Campbell's chicken noodle soup? Like I don't know, but people value it for millions of dollars in the art community based on, you know, when Andy Warhol decided to come in and ruin art for the postmodern era. But like that's
wow. Okay.
That's what value is in the eye of the beholder, man. We're not going to understand it, and I don't think we should try to.
But this feels like people calling Bitcoin a tulip bubble. This feels more like a tulip bubble. Like this feels like much more of a manic frothing like bubble than Bitcoin ever really did, because those of us in the industry understood what Bitcoin was building and what was, you know, what people were doing with Ethereum and with all these other projects. We knew it was a matter of time until the scammy ICOs went out. At least we hoped it was. The scammy ICOs went out and we started building real projects with real utility. And I guess I have to read more. I don't get
No,
it
I mean,
at all.
Ryan, you're right. There is this feeling of like we're in an absolute bubble with kind of the weird things that are being turned into NFTs. And there is a very high likelihood that many of these things that are penning themselves off as NFTs will not hold their value over time. But if you think about it, like, why do people buy a very expensive piece of art? Some people will tell you they like to look at it and appreciate its craftsmanship. You could say the same thing about a piece of art from Beeple. I mean, his most recent sale of 69 million or whatever is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, you can download that file and keep it on your computer for free. But at the end of the day, only one person owns this art. And I think in a lot of ways, it's kind of just another way to flex your wealth. Like, people that buy art a lot of times are doing it as a way to flex their wealth. They'll tell you they're doing it to appreciate the artwork, but I mean, a lot of it is just showing that you are very wealthy and are able to enjoy the arts in life. And I think with NFTs, like, it's taking that a step further. The ownership is proven on the blockchain. You can see who owns what. So it kind of is like a really definitive flex. But yeah, I
But
see what you're saying.
if I buy a Warhol, I own the Warhol. Like,
Yeah,
there's
but
no
who knows,
digital version of it
you own
floating
it?
around. It's hanging on my wall. It's a physical, tangible thing that I can touch and pick up and carry around and do things with. I can't do that with an NFT. It's a digital file. I don't
But
care.
you're saying the value of an Andy Warhol painting isn't so that you can take it off the wall and swing
Of
it
course
around.
not. Of course not. No, I get that. But like, having something tangible versus just some digital file that I could lose as easily as that guy who lost, like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin because he can't remember his password. What if I lose the computer the NFT's on? Then I don't have the NFT anymore. I can prove I owned it, but I don't have it anymore unless I completely understand how NFTs work. I misunderstand how NFTs work. I just don't
I
get
mean,
it.
that same logic could be applied to cash versus Bitcoin. I mean, like, do you
Sure.
keep? Yeah. So I think, I mean, the concept of digital ownership is something that is still very much novel, and it's something that Bitcoin had to overcome initially. Is this concept of true digital scarcity does exist, and therefore you can create that demand based on digital scarcity the same way you could for a real item. So I think that, yeah, even for me, like, I own NFTs, but it is a kind of a puzzling thing to wrap your head around. But the fact of the matter is, people want these things. They are scarce. There is demand for them, so they maintain value. And I think that this is something that is still, like I keep saying, it's just in its beginning. So
Right, but would you rather own an NFT of a great bottle of wine, or do you want the 64 Rothschild in your wine cellar? I can enjoy that. That's delicious if I ever open it. I shouldn't, but maybe I'm feeling bold one day and I open it. I just don't get it.
yeah, I would say that.
This is much bigger than just you and I or Monty or Alex. We
Sure.
do not get to decide what is valuable and what is not valuable.
Of course not.
That to the
not.
collective subconscious of all collective humanity. That's just how value works.
Of course, but I think some of these people are insane. You can quantify the value of a bottle of wine. It's delicious. Even
I think we lost everybody. There's no one watching at this point, guys.
If someone tries to pitch you a wine NFT, tell them to go away, because that's where NFTs lose their utility, is once you have to try and eat them or drink them.
I'm happy to buy an NFT from one of my favorite bands. I would love to do that, to give them more sources of income, especially when they're losing all their revenue streams from tours, from touring, and from merch, and from all that. I totally understand that. That makes perfect sense. That's really cool. But outside of that, outside of like the music, or I don't know, I just don't. No.
All right, let's talk about PancakeSwap and why you should not be going there right now. Ryan, bring us the news and what's happening.
Yeah, this is really weird. So PancakeSwap and Cream Finance, they were victims of a DNS attack of some kind, where the hackers were able to replace the interface for accessing these services with a scammy one, where they ask you for your wallet address, you put your wallet address in, and then it's an exploit. They just drain all your crypto out. And, Cream is now down. Whereas PancakeSwap, I don't think they've been able to take it down yet. So people are still falling for this.
Well, I saw a tweet, I think, earlier in the day. It might have been from CZ. I'm not sure, but it said, folks, don't go over there until you get till there's a proper notification to.
Right. But is everyone who's using PancakeSwap going to Twitter before they use it? Or are they going on saying, oh, wow, I just have to put my wallet address in. I guess I should trust them. They're PancakeSwap. It's run by CZ or by Binance chain, and Binance is associated with Binance and all that. And CZ, I should trust this. I'm going to put in my wallet address, and then boom, all your money's gone. And it's gone. Like that episode of South Park. It's
impossible for me.
Customers only.
This line is for customers only. Please step aside, sir.
But it's crap. No, you're absolutely right. It's crappy, right? So PancakeSwap is this hot thing. What's their price doing? Anybody have a chart on them? Are they having a fallout from this? Because they should. You're absolutely right. This is people's money that are getting lost, and it's a DNS. It should have been dealt with, and we just suffered a DNS, with Voyager a month and a half ago.
Only down 8%. Today.
Down 8%. Yeah, after it went up 1,000%. But this is the crap that really just irks me.
It makes the rest of the industry look terrible. I can see why people think that it's filled with scammers when you have the most visible CEO in the world in this industry that's actually running an exchange, threatening to sue everyone who disparages them, blocking them on Twitter, and then saying, hey, don't use my service because we got hacked and they're gonna take all your money. But we can't fix it. I just don't.
I cannot feel bad for any of these people. I am sorry, but
why?
What did we talked about months ago? Like anyone that's using PancakeSwap is completely sacrificing the ethos of decentralization for convenience and low gas fees. Like that's all well and good. You are willing to you don't want to deal with the gas fees on other decentralized exchanges, so you go to PancakeSwap where it's much cheaper and much more centralized, and this is the risk you run when you do that.
Right. So when you go food shopping, do you go to 10 different markets for all the different kind of food you want, or do you just go to the supermarket down the street?
No, but that's not
like
at all the same.
Convenience is part of modern life.
Yeah, but how is that the same? You're trading cryptocurrency on a centralized exchange. That is completely counterintuitive.
No, but mocking someone, or not mocking them, but openly disparaging them for wanting convenience versus having to go to 10 different places for something. I mean, if people do that in every other aspect of their lives, which
food is about convenience. Crypto is not about convenience. Crypto is about ownership, true ownership, and decentralization. That's what it's always been about. That's what it should be about. So when you take an exchange, completely centralize it like PancakeSwap has, this is what happens, and it makes everything else look bad, like you said. So for me, hey, you went with a convenient route, and this is why. This is the cost of convenience.
But when everyone talks about increasing adoption, hold on one second, CJ, I'm sorry. But when everyone talks about increasing adoption, and we talk about the need to further institutionalize the space and make it more retail friendly, the whole point is to make sure it just works, and you can do it under one centralized place, right? You talk about prime brokers coming online, making it easier for funds. You talk about brokers like Voyager being able to source prices across all these different exchanges. You talk about the opportunity for retail traders to trade futures and options in one place across multiple venues. That's what's needed. We need like a TD Ameritrade or a Schwab for crypto for this to work. And I don't understand why you would openly disparage people going to a place that, you should be able to trust something that's associated with Binance. You really should, given their status in the marketplace. And it's like sitting here and saying that crypto isn't about convenience. I mean, I don't know. I don't
trust anything. I don't trust anything.
That's a strong.
Yeah, Ryan, that's where you went wrong. You trusted someone, and you used trust and crypto.
I don't trust Binance at all. But I'm not going to disparage other people who do.
You're saying we should trust CZ. Ryan, you have to understand that there's massive trade-offs to all of these systems. Absolutely. You're not going to have convenience in a decentralized exchange like Uniswap because it's going to have massive gas fees. That's the trade-off that we made, and we're completely cognizant of it.
And that's why there isn't going to be mass adoption of crypto until something like that works.
I think we're already seeing mass adoption of crypto, Ryan. And I think the people that were using PancakeSwap are not new to crypto. Those are people that have been trading crypto for years and were well aware of the trade-off that they were making. So I don't think this has anything to do with adoption. I think this is just
the market cap is only $1.7 trillion. That's mass adoption. It's a blip on the radar. It's a drop in a bucket.
I mean, if you compare it with last year, yeah, I'd say this year has been.
How can you criticize CZ? Like, come on.
I don't trust.
Where do I begin? Where do I begin? I have a list I can break out and criticize CZ. Come on.
All right. So, folks, thank you for joining us. I don't forget tomorrow, if anybody shows up, tomorrow is portfolio reveal day, where we're going to go through all of our portfolio allocations, tell you what we own, how much we own it for, what our predictions are. We also have a special guest joining us, Mr. Rob from Digital Asset News. We love it when he comes on because he's usually the voice of reason amongst all this chaos. And then, of course,
That voice, Alex. It's that baritone voice. It's just calming and soothing.
It's like that El Paso sexy voice.
Yeah, yeah. I'd listen to him like narrate nursery rhymes.
He can.
He's the Matthew McConaughey of crypto.
he could narrate children's crypto books or something.
Exactly.
And then also tomorrow live stream 2 p.m. Eastern time. Steve Ehrlich, he's already listening to us, with raising interest rates, coming on to talk about the token swap and what the update is with that and what's going on with that. A lot of people, getting antsy. And then Wednesday, Pat Ackerman to go over his latest VGX article that he posted. And that's that. So before any more ruckus erupts, I'm going to say hang on to your handlebars. Happy trading, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Bye, everyone.